Imagine two young children playing nicely together. It's a parent-pleasing scene. Before one junior citizen grabs an object from the other. Now, imagine a parent entering the scenario. We might witness an intervention akin to this one. The parent grabs the item away from the child, just as the child grabbed it away from the playmate, and says, "Why do you keep doing that? If I've told you once, I've told you 106 times. Don't grab things." Or on the other end of the intervention spectrum, we might witness a parent who says, "You two were playing nicely together for a long time. You were having fun. We can have more fun by taking turns with the sparkle thingamabob." Now don't worry, parents of older kids, we have examples for you too. But if these two scenarios reflect the typical intervention patterns of the two parents, we might be able to make some sense of why it is that one young child plays so well, while the other continually has difficulty interacting positively with others. Believe it or not, Ripley, both of the behavior patterns of the children can be explained by the same principles and truisms about human behavior. Behavior, desirable or undesirable, appropriate or inappropriate, good or bad, so to speak, emanates from the same wellspring. They drink from the same source. Behavior, all behavior, is built by the same influences. To better understand this statement, the first thing we have to do is wipe our brain slates clear of all the reasons we've heard for why kids do what they do. "Oh man, they're just plain born bad." Or the genetic variation of that explanation, bad swimmers in the gene pool. From the other side of the family, of course. The breakdown of the extended family and a dysfunctional society. Today's parents straying from the traditional child rearing and disciplinary ways. Media, the song lyrics, the TV shows, the music videos, the electronic games. It could be the weather, the sunspot, the phases of the moon, Elvis impersonators, and space aliens. Although, I got to tell you, I'm not too sure about mimes. I'm not sure how they're involved, but I know they are. Certainly the things just mentioned could be ingredients in some pots of behavioral stew. Perhaps one that you were asked to make more palatable. If things aren't yet right with the behavior pattern of a child or a youth, it will be your ability to recognize the influences on the present product and your knowledge and skill in the behavioral kitchen that determines whether the behavioral cuisine is now appreciated by all involved. In this program, we'll go beyond the garnish, helping you to make sense of what has happened and create a palatable behavioral dish that's appreciated by all. For those of you who've been quite successful at instilling a good moral code and creating proficiency in making good choices, you'll now better understand why it is that things have turned out so well, and perhaps pick up a few new ideas to strengthen your approach. We've come to know a great deal about what motivates kids to show behavior, good, bad, or indifferent. A great many traditional practices have been investigated. Some passed the litmus test. Others have been found to be contrary to raising well-behaved, emotionally well-adjusted children and youth. We need to continue using traditional practices, but only if they've proven out to be effective in producing kids with good social and behavioral qualities. We need to dump those practices that have been shown to be ineffective or even counterproductive to raising good kids. When it comes to raising good kids, we can't just use common sense, which isn't all that common anyway. If we relied on common sense, we'd throw water on oil fires. If we used uninformed common sense, we'd still think the world was flat. We now know it's shaped more like a banana. Yes, we need to go with what we know to be right, but first, we should be certain that what we know to be true in our hearts and our minds is indeed correct. What is obvious and accepted is often incorrect. Just like Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz, we have to look behind the curtain to fully understand which factors are driving what we see. Few of us receive training of any sort in positive and effective parenting practices that build strong moral character. Sometimes we don't even know what we don't know. Some of us may have had good role models, but even then, the reasons behind the practices we now emulate were not explained. When to use them, how to modify them for various situations were not pointed out to us. Can we be sure that when we praise, criticize, and teach behavior, that we're doing it in the ways that are most effective? Let's crack open a primer on the topic and immerse ourselves. We'll just look at an overview in this chapter and investigate each point further in Chapter 2. In essence, there are 5 major reasons for why behavior, good, bad, or neutral, develops. First of all, modeling, copying or emulating the actions of important others. Number 2, receiving rewards for showing certain behaviors, getting a payoff of money, items, affection, escape from something uncomfortable, and so forth. Number 3, having physical complications, neurological or biochemical impairments that influence one's actions. Conditions such as autism and Tourette syndrome. 4, having mental health issues such as schizophrenia, oppositional defiant disorder, severe anxiety, or depression. And number 5, experiencing frustration in one's attempts to achieve a goal, be it academic achievement, social acceptance, sensory stimulation, experiencing enjoyment, or some other valued outcome. While physical and mental issues can indeed be influential forces behind how one acts and reacts in situations, essentially the behavior patterns of youngsters don't come pre-assembled. Whether functional and appropriate in their day-to-day actions or dysfunctional and inappropriate, kids are built by people. The final product is a result of the tools that the builders have in their toolkits, how well they use them, and how skillfully they make needed adjustments once that prized object is in motion. Youngsters are a result of how people in their environment have acted upon them, and how these people respond to the behaviors they witness. Even if the behaviors we see have an emotional or physical disorder behind them, whether those behaviors increase or decrease in strength and frequency depends on our response to them. We cannot blame a child for his or her behavior. Kids are a result of, and unfortunately sometimes a victim of, how they've been acted upon by others. To change the behavior of a child or a youth, we must first change our behaviors. You may have heard someone say, kids don't come with directions. Phew. Some parents pledged that they would do anything for their kids. Anything, it seems, except learn about how to raise them. There are some wonderful resources available nowadays. You have one in your hands right now that will also lead you to others. So kudos to you. You're about to come to know proven and positive ways to raise a good kid or restore one who's become tarnished, dented, or mangled. The strategies are right here, or places to which you'll be directed. If you're already feeling good about your ways and the behaviors your youngster exhibits, this program will provide you with more ideas that fit your child-rearing orientation. You might even find a reason to tweak your practices to make them even more effective. Others listening here today have tried to be positive, but somehow applied this approach in an errant way. Their child's behavior pattern became more and more negative. For these parents and guardians, Embarrassment and frustration were their constant companions, and they no doubt started to think negative thoughts and consider the misguided advice of others to get tough, keep 'em under your thumb, use swift, strong physical punishment for all the offenses so that you nip it in the bud. Now, I'm not going to spout a position on spanking. You can look up the literature on its effects on the internet. But I guess that no matter what your position on the matter, you'd like to use it less often and avoid it if at all possible. We'll talk more in later chapters about punishing behavior in order to correct it. But I first want to offer you approaches to try before overwhelming frustration brings about a decision to turn to the dark side and become a disciplinary stormtrooper. I realize that even parents with the self-restraint of Mahatma Gandhi can begin to feel emotionally frazzled by the failure of their kids to demonstrate appropriate and compliant behavior. But it's important to reject the advice of those vinegar-blooded individuals who advocate for the infliction of psychological and physical pain. Folks who would file a grievance if their boss did those same things to them. Why is it that getting tough with them is the only way to treat everyone except us? Besides, we have rock-solid research proof and long-term life evidence of the effectiveness of positive child-rearing practices. Becoming privy to these practices makes you someone who has the power to greatly reduce incidents of negativity between you and the child you love. So, tell those sour souls to check to see if maybe their underwear's on backwards and cutting off circulation to their brains. Of course, they'll deny their need to change, thus proving the old adage that denial ain't just a river in Egypt. They'll present you with false comparisons, telling you that if you aren't using coercion, force, and good old-fashioned discipline, you'll turn out a criminal. This argument is easily diffused by looking at the childhood of criminals. They'll tell you that if you're not creating fear of you and your child, that you're one of those egg-headed parents who turn out spoiled, rotten kids. Rotten eggs? Because no directiveness was used. Your friends have a point here. In an attempt to counter negative child rearing, many adults did stray off the parenting path without a knife and a compass. Many kids suffered because of this lack of parental guidance. The adults' well-intended but misinformed practices are just as ineffective and counterproductive as arguing, blaming, lecturing, shaming, threatening. However, this either-or argument has one flaw. It's not an either-or choice that you face. You can be both positive and effective, removing the extremes in child rearing that are roadblocks to obtaining what we seek. A well-behaved, emotionally balanced kid who does the right thing not out of fear, but because he or she believes that it's the right thing to do. They sail by an accurate moral compass. Remember, you can't create politeness and respect by bullying. We can't expect appropriate behavior to be shown voluntarily if coercion has been used to get the kid to show it. We can't stop aggression by handling kids forcefully, get them to stop yelling by yelling at them. Often folks use the same actions that they hated done to them when they were kids. This is Stockholm Syndrome, identifying with the oppressor and taking on their traits. It is when we keep the best of what our parents did that we honor them. You make them proud when you remove from your parenting repertoire practices that were mistakenly believed to be right at that time, and replace them with proven effective ones. That newly modified approach better serves our children and adds honor to the family name. In this podcast, you'll find out how to use positivity to create a good kid. I'm not talking about weak-kneed, timid grin, shivering, pleading voice strategies used by ineffective parents at the other end of the disciplinary spectrum. In this application, you'll learn how to give that moral sextant to kids. Or perhaps nowadays we should say moral GPS device, so that they can find their way during times of social light and darkness. We do so by making use of assertive, not aggressive strategies, ways of which we can be proud, ones that create kids of whom we can be even prouder. If you're not already proficient at using positivity in child rearing, your hardest task will be to remain true to your resolution to try new and more effective ways. Just as your youngster has an ingrained response pattern to his or her world, you too have strong habits that will take dedication and perseverance to replace. If you're at this parenting way station, it's time to look in the mirror and tell yourself, I tried, but what I tried didn't work well. We fell off the edge. My child is the most important thing in my life. My child will change when I do, for the better, when I use better ways. As the old adage goes, if you fall off a cliff, you might as well try to fly. You got nothing to lose. We'll give you a set of wings that will lift you to the pinnacle of parenting. You will at times find yourself reverting to the old ways. It's to be expected. But now you need to muster the intestinal fortitude to immediately follow that impulse or action with the new and better response. As with our computers, when we want them to respond better, we have to change the present settings. We have to reprogram our head-based computers to perform in a way that brings the desired results. Unlike the electronic computer, change does not happen immediately. It certainly does come, though, with persistence and consistency. Another PC, persistent and consistent. Soon, when your kids give you that funhouse mirror version of appropriate behavior, or they're grating on your last good nerve like number 6 sandpaper, you'll be demanding, yet supportive, firm, but fair, and you'll never do anything that you wouldn't want done to you. Sort of an inside-out version of the golden rule. Remember, kids' minds are precious. Let's be careful out there.